ready for launch here in just about 3 minutes. Or
volume up.
Foot tall, 1.7 million pounds of thrust in our near future coming up here in just a couple of minutes. All looking good for the SpaceX team. They do have until 8:38 in this launch window to get things done, but hopefully we'll have an on-time launch at 7:10 here in just a few minutes. Let's talk a little bit about the payload on board the Falcon 9. This is a mammoth 15,000-pound Boeing-built JCSat-18 Pacific communications satellite. It's got two platforms, basically those two commercial companies that are on board this satellite that will be operating some 22,000 miles up in a geosynchronous orbit, and will provide broadband signals to Japan and islands in the Pacific Ocean.
Supposed to do a Friday night launch too, about 6, 7 o'clock at night. Supposed to be the most powerful rocket ever.
Areas that are very remote.
So we'll find out Friday night how powerful that thing is.
Considered underserved when it comes to that internet coverage. You're looking live now at the Falcon 9.
2 in a week, one on Monday, one on Friday night.
Venting right now, fully fueled obviously and ready to go for this launch, which is scheduled now for 7:10, just a few minutes from now. Let's talk a little bit about the secondary mission for SpaceX, as we often do. The Falcon 9 first stage booster, 8 minutes after liftoff, SpaceX will land the rocket's first stage on their drone ship. That's a couple hundred miles out in the Atlantic. And also this time, SpaceX is going to be trying to recover both fairings. That's the encapsulation on top of the rocket that's protecting the spacecraft. They've got 2 recovery ships out there in that landing zone, and they're hoping to recover those fairings. Again, reusability, the name of the game for SpaceX, as this commercial company continues to do its work and has.
The last time we were up in Port Canaveral, we saw the barge there that it landed on. They just lifted SpaceX off and put it on.
As we have a launch,
lifted it off the barge, and they also had the 2 that captured the bearing, but they didn't capture it. Plus we'll be having, like I said, a launch Friday night about the same time, and it's supposed to be the most powerful rocket ever made, so we'll see how loud and how big it is.
Go for launch.
30 seconds.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Okay. Let's go outside and see what we see. See it yet?
Well, I see a little glow over there.
Yeah, I can actually see it through the trees. Sure, look at that. That's a real glow there. Usually you don't see that much of a glow. There's no clouds in the sky at all, or?
Right in the dip of those trees, huh? Looks like a UFO from clouds standing. I see 4 lights.
Friday night they're going to be launching that big powerful rocket, supposed to be most powerful one yet. More powerful than the ones, the Saturn V's that they used to put the man on the moon. So we'll see how powerful and how that looks.
That's pretty cool. Should hear something here pretty soon. Feel it. Leaving the trail now, isn't it? Light just
Now it's actually, you can see the different colors in it. Red, blue. Oh, there it is there.
Like a star in the sky now.
Yeah, well, just a little dot there you can follow with your eye, but
Right from the cars.
it's moving right along.
Landing on the drone.
You can still follow this with the eyeball. I doubt very much that the camera's picking this up now. But you can still see it. Still watching the dot, just keep going out that way. Heading east out, actually, yeah, that's kind of east, southeast, kind of. I can still see it. I'm sure the camera's not picking it up because it's just like a star in the sky, just a dot, but it's just starting to go over the horizon where there's a few trees a block or so away that are going to block it, and that's about all you're going to see, I think. Still seeing it. It's just disappearing behind those trees that are blocks away. So we'll go inside and see what we see.
All right, there you go. Just another look at the beautiful launch. Again, that cloud deck we can see out here from the causeway, about a couple, 3 miles away from where we view these launches. Boy, that was a nice surprise.
Liftoff
As
of
the
Falcon
launch
9.
going off right on time at 7:10. Let's talk a little bit about the payload one more time that is on board, that will be within about the next 30 minutes, a little bit more than 30 minutes after launch, will be deployed to that geostationary orbit. We are talking about this 15,000-pound Boeing-built JC-SAT-18 Pacific Communications satellite. It has 2 platforms, both
So
of
you can
those
just see a little
companies.
dot out there, and that's
again,
about
we're gonna be
all I'm seeing out there. You can still see it with the naked eye, but I'm sure that camera's not picking it up after that.
Dozens of those small remote places in the mountainous regions
Well, I
that really
saw
have
that
no
glow that
chance for
said
any
there
cell
was
service
low
or internet
clouds
service on the
over,
ground. So
you know, the
these,
takeoff area.
The signals will be beamed from space so that
That was
they'll be
cool.
able to have internet and service, especially in those areas that are underserved and have never had the opportunity to have internet. So that's a neat thing right there. And you know what we're waiting for here in just under about 2 minutes or so, give or take. We're waiting for the first stage booster. Now we have the landing legs that have been deployed now, if we're looking at that. And that first stage booster is igniting to slow it down to an easy speed so that it can land safely on the drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You, which is east of us, a couple 100 miles out. Unfortunately, with the drone ship being so far out, you will not hear any type of sonic boom, just not close enough to land to be able to see that. Likely shake some folks if it did, and that has happened many, many times. But it's kind of gone dark there because the engine and to slow it down is not burning anymore, and what we're waiting here from the team to see if we have a successful landing, which on the drone ship, which hopefully will happen in under a minute or so. This is just a little factoid for you. We just had a launch, and unfortunately they lost the downlink there, but maybe they'll get that back here in a moment. At least get that confirmation. SpaceX launched just 11 days ago.
When we were last up in Port Canaveral, we were having lunch at Fish Lips overlooking that, where all the cruise ships go out of, and right across from where we ate, there was that drone ship, and they used the crane to pick up the SpaceX booster there and put it on the ground. And they also had the two ships that were supposed to catch the shrouding, the fairing on there. They had two of them there, but they ended up not doing it because the seas were 8 to 10 feet, and it was too rough out there for them to even try it, so they called it off, and those ships came back in. But you saw all three of them, the two that would catch the fairing, and they weren't that big ships. And in fact, this barge here is not that big at all. It just barely fits that thing on there.
And
that's it.
The engine's out.
That barge is very small. Just the bullseye on it is pretty much as big as that. You know, it's a very small barge. You wouldn't believe how.
It's like maybe 50 foot, like 50 foot.
It's not big at all, because it was right across from us, and they lifted that right off it. And when you looked at that barge, it's like that thing had just barely enough room with the tripod legs on it to land on it. So that thing has got to be dead on with the GPS and all of that.
Put it here on the Space Coast, and what we're waiting on is the deployment of the big 15,000-pound satellite, and hopefully that will go up here in about maybe 15 minutes.
Talk about Friday now.
So things looking good out here on the Space Coast. Tammy, hope you enjoy.
And the same thing, we'll be out there Friday night when they're going to be launching that big rocket, supposedly the most powerful one so far.
Piece of history. Back to you.
Very cool, great. Thank you so much. It was great to see it and witness it with you. We appreciate it. And a shout out to your photojournalist out there, John, as well. Thanks.
Okay, that's WDAN Space News signing off from beautiful Space Coast.